You know that there are people that are coming in your life according to your own frequency, and you're attracting people, and then you're seeing certain changes, but you're like, I don't know who to really give my attention, time, and energy to. And especially if you're on the spiritual journey of elevation and doing a lot of subconscious shadow work, then you're going to see that you tend to outgrow people in a matter of months. Like, things change very, very quickly. And I've noticed that whenever there's this cycle of rapid changes, rapid spiritual changes, you're going to find yourself going through this. There are these phases of like a few months you're focusing on a specific parental figure. So it's like it keeps coming back, and your main focus does go back to how either your mother behaved with you or your father behaved with you. And when we're dealing with either one, anima or animus, we're trying to understand, like, okay, well, so this is how my relationship with my mother made me prone to the way that I feel about myself. It's intrapersonal, it's about the way that I feel about myself, it's about my self-worth. And then that information comes in practicality, and it shifts to your animus, which is your interpersonal relationships, which is related with your father. So your relationship with your father determines the way that you deal with other people. So while we're doing work on ourselves, it's inevitable that this part wants to combine with this part. It goes in conjunction with this one. So the inner world has to match up with the outer world, right? And you're going to face friction, because a lot of times friction is not just in the way in which other people are in your life. It's just, it comes up in irritation or anger. Like, I don't accept the way you've been treating me previously, because now I don't want to be like this anymore. Does that make sense? Like, you were fine with a certain level of behavior maybe 3 months ago, and then after 3 months, 4 months, some sort of self perception has changed, it's transformed, it's got a healthier, self concept. Like, my self worth is way better. And I start thinking about, like, okay, I don't think that's right. Like, I was a bit like I was negotiating with you perhaps before, like I had this feeling, but now it's a lot more clearer, and I don't want to deal with you. So that's where maintenance, the concept of maintenance in relationships tends to become a lot more clearer. You're again analyzing, like, okay, there are these changes, and now I don't know if I want to indulge in it. Because the older version of you is fine with it, but now this version of you is like, no, I don't think this works, because like I realize that this is not good enough. It's all an internal reflection. People are just showing you the relationship that you share with yourself. It's nothing beyond that. So now that the intrapersonal relationship has improved, the interpersonal relationship demands a little bit of tweaking, maybe like removal or addition to it. You realize people that were actually there for you and the people that weren't there for you. If you're someone that relates with this, then I'm going to tell you key factors in how to identify people that are doing just the bare minimum, people that are just checking in. They're going to drop in a few messages, they're going to show up from time to time, and they're going to make you feel like they're so busy, they've got things to do, and they've got this charm. Like, in your mind, these people always have a charm. Like, you're going to see them as the ones that are in your good books, because the bar was already so low for you. So if they add like 4 5 pointers of good behavior, you're going to really reward them with your loyalty. That's something that comes from your inner child, because your inner child has pure intentions, and your inner child is going to directly relate with like a lot of investment. You tend to give a lot of yourself to these people, because even if you're not outwardly doing it, you still have mental expectations, you have a lot of chips invested in them. And it doesn't always relate with just relationships, but definitely it shows up more magnified in romantic relationships. But platonic relationships also have that. Majority of these patterns and this questioning and your discernment would be lacking in areas in which it's romantically or sexually related. Because if you're someone that struggles romantically, then you're trying to get your needs of intimacy met through sexuality. It's just a given. And something about sexual appetite and emotional appetite is very interesting. It's something that a lot of women perhaps need to understand, or even people that, or maybe men, I'd say, that lean more towards their femininity, that may feel that, why can't I find the right person, or people or women are attracted to me just for my looks. It's majority of it is based off that your emotional appetite and your sexual appetite are two different components. They are in junction, like they do relate with each other, because your sexuality, your sexual kinks, they come from this small box of subconscious um deficiencies, like basically things that, they have this dom and submissive type of give and take. Like it's like people often like to do the opposite of what they are in, their reality, and then the opposite of that they want to be in the bedroom. It's some sort of like letting loose of control or letting that mask fall off, and that's the same thing that we experience in relationships. Intimacy, we want to be with that one person we can be bare naked with, pun intended, but we want to be seen for who we really are, and we don't want to put up this mask. A lot of times you're going to notice that you're out in the world and you have to be strong. You can't show your vulnerable parts to everyone, and that's justified because a lot of people are quite twisted. They use the information, and that's where these type of people that are offering you maintenance, I'm using the word maintenance to focus on why bare minimum does not conclude it, because they're actually doing maintenance level work in your relationship. They've created this transactional bond, and if you're a giver or you're someone that's anxious, you're the one that's always over giving, because not because you're stupid or you're just bound to do that. It's a polarity of life, yin and yang. There's always one that's a bit more of the other side, and there's one that's a bit of more of other side, and you can use any sort of characteristics. So over here, the most common dynamic is the anxious and avoidant, and I would like to break this mental stigma that people have, that the one that cares the least is the one that actually has all the power. It may look like that outwardly, but an avoidant person is actually a bit more miserable than the anxious, because the anxious at least has a grip of their fears, their anxiety, and their panic attack. It depends on how well they deal with it. But the avoidant is struggling with a freeze state. Like it takes them a while to understand what type of fuck up they're actually doing. So things are not really in the present moment for them. I guess I can't really place a comparison, but the mental stigma for me in my own personal dictionary does not really exist. I don't really think that any person actually cares less. Either they're just really numb, they're not connected with their emotions, and some way or the other it's going to come back to them. Someday or the other they're going to realize what you meant to them. And then there are maintenance people. Maintenance people are again just based off their attachment style. They don't really feel for you, they're not really trying to get to know who you really are, what's going on in your life. They also have this like um they have this chip palette. They're going to give you a little bit and then going to make you feel like, yeah, I really care for you. These are the on and off type of situations in your life. I feel like this is quite glorified these days in like bare minimum friendships and things like that, because I think that people place too much emphasis on their familial relationships and their spouses and their dating world and their partner, that they forget that the partner and just the family cannot really fulfill all your needs. It's kind of like a distribution type of a method, where you realize that it's actually very, very dysfunctional for you to first of all put all your needs and expectations on a partner, like a significant other, because they can't be everything that you want. And it's about really narrowing down the core values that you want. And I think, in my perspective, if you're looking to understand that, that would be look for emotional compatibility. I was having this conversation with my friend recently where we spoke about how people who are completely in attune with their emotions, such as me, and that comes across as very overly sensitive to certain people that are numbed out because um, they don't know how to express their needs or advocate for themselves. It tends to be too much, or like it's seen as dependency for the ones that can't do it. And in a way, throughout my journey, I realized that it's not my partner's responsibility or anybody else's responsibility to connect with the depth that I carry. For me, a non-negotiable is that we should have compatibility. Like what I'm saying should be held, should be reciprocated, should be validated, should be taken in accountability, and vice versa, so that even I can do that. but it's not an obligation that I have to find that level of spiritual density perhaps in another person. They're allowed to have their own relationship, but my depth is for me, and I fulfill that with people that come across in my journey, my own spiritual contracts, or when I share it on my YouTube community. It's like I get my needs met. The universe always finds a way, always makes sure that I get my needs met, but it's got to be distributed in different people. And this is something you're going to notice if you're someone that's quite sensitive, that the maintenance people, they have their chips installed everywhere. They're not typically looking for growth, they're looking for convenience, like people that love bomb. Why do they do that? It's because initially they know that their chips are a bit less in size and you are a good candidate for that. Some people are quite cunning, that they do think about manipulating. Some people naturally, in terms of being avoidant, they only have a limited amount to give you in the first place. Maybe they genuinely like you, maybe they genuinely do, they feel a connection with you, but they can't live up to what they offered you in the beginning. And that's how the effort, in a graph, you're going to see the graph starts falling down, and it's because they've given you a lot more of chips, and then they're sustaining the relationship of maintenance, and maintenance is actually their real emotional quotient. The whole concept of maintenance for people is all about dependency. They want to get their needs met, but they don't have enough to sustain themselves. So they find another person to give them all the things they want. They're just like us, we want love, I want love, I want to be loved in the right manner. And you want to be loved in the way in which you find it compatible, and xyz reasons why you feel like you want to be loved. It's not a superficial goal to want to have companionship, but the method of it needs to be right so that you can attract exactly what you're looking for. It's a lot of times we're looking for love in the right manner, but we don't realize our dysfunctional patterns and our subconscious kinks and deficiencies are actually also, participating in manifesting that person. And these maintenance people are going to be your biggest reflection in ways in which you're like, okay, maybe I'll just take that. That's where your relationship with your mother, your intrapersonal relationship, is going to come in and question and make you question, like, buddy, do you really think you deserve that? And that's when you're going to start weeding these people out, because your interpersonal relationship is going to make you question your outside reality. Always and always there's a destruction. If there's a destruction inside, there's going to be destruction on the outside. It's best to let go of it. A lot of times when we're letting go of these people, the maintenance people, it's because we were at that level and now we've outgrown them. Sometimes you're gonna have guilt about that, but you shouldn't feel guilty for growing. If they wanted to, they would, and the universe will always provide for them just the way the universe provides for you. Your needs are always being met. You should know that.